GL EU guys and girls, we are into play week 6. We're getting ready for game 2 of the day. Now, game 1 was a little surprising to most of us. I don't think many predicted that actually Penta would overcome the mountain that is Synergy. But now the next game's even more one-sided, I think we can safely say here. So it's going to be Team Supreme up against Stronk. What do we make of this? Well,
Team Supreme so far undefeated in this first half of the season, at least of the WGL Season 1 2015/16. Now, 5 matches played, all 3-1 convincingly. 5-1, 5-2, 5-3 scoreline against Ding was the closest match we saw. And a very good team indeed. Strong Siema, on the other hand, a little bit shaky. They've had a couple of good results, but they seem to tilt very easily. Yeah, they certainly do. Now, we know the map pool coming into this one. I believe we're starting out on Ruinberg and then going into Himmelsdorf. So, going to be another tough map pool coming in. To be fair, I don't think there's an easy one against Supreme. No, I think this is the most standard map pool we see. I mean, we see a lot of Ruinberg, a lot of Himmelsdorf. I think Ruinberg's, a map we've seen the most this season, especially on the European and the Russian server. I mean, we seem to be loving that. The teams to be practicing a lot. Probably because, it's kind of like the old Himmelsdorf where you can go 2-2, and it's one which a lot of teams feel comfortable on. Very hard to attack, a lot easier to defend, but if you do get that attacking round, it's going to go very well. But it's hard against Team Supreme. It certainly is. But of course, this is your opportunity to get in to vote to us and get your thoughts through Melee. If they want to get involved pretty early on, how can they do so?
By using the hashtag WGLEU over at Twitter, and of course following us as well at WGLEU, which is really important because our social media platforms are the first platforms that get fed with all the information we have, with all the news and all articles we're publishing on our Facebook pages, of course, and on eu.wgleague.net, not anymore, but on worldoftanks.eu. Exactly. And people, just check it out yourself. Head over to those platforms on Facebook as well, /WGLEU. And if you want to rewatch the VODs of the past match days, you can do so on youtube.com/WGLEU. And of course, don't forget to follow our Twitch channel, because then you will get a notification as soon as we're going live.
Alrighty, so now we're pretty close to the game getting started between these two. We can kind of have a discussion about the first map, Ruinberg, coming up, because we theorized why this is often a pick for Team Supreme coming into this one, and you're discussing it does involve maybe a training partner here. Yeah, I mean, obviously Team Supreme, they're training a lot with the Russian teams, Hellraisers, Yanavis, NSS, those kind of players, those kind of teams even. I think that's one of the reasons. I mean, okay, Team Supreme haven't played it a lot this season, only 4 times, but I think they feel comfortable. Well, they've certainly had some good sparring partners there. Hellraisers have a phenomenal record over in the Russian League on Ruinberg. So guys, let's get ready for the map itself, Ruinberg.
Ruinberg, a mixed type map. The defending team starts the battle on the green, and the attacking team starts at the central square of the town. Bases are located quite far from each other. Both bases are better controlled from the village. It's better to attack the first base through the top direction with the help of several well-armoured heavy tanks. For the attack on the second base, it's better to use a more mobile setup and either play through the centre or split forces. In general, the map is not easy to play on. Teams often use blind shots and risky shifting of the forces from one flank to another.
Ruinberg, indeed, a tough map to play on, and on the attack, it's Team Supreme, currently leading this entire league by quite some way, and up against them on the other side is Strong Siema. And what are we seeing so far? Well, we're seeing Ron in the MT25, a pretty nimble little tank with pretty good good view range, very big, a bit of HP to play around with as well, just getting the early scouts out. Our Team Supreme have a very good track record on the attack. They do like to go forwards, winning 4 out of 6 times, so pretty unrivaled in many respects. And Strong Siema do send those 2 T-54s down to the 0 line, trying to get control. Team Supreme don't take the bait, they don't go for the overmatch. Okay, so Supreme clearly respecting their opponent for now, but then there's Ron, and Ron wants to get involved. He's going to provide cover here now. Those 1390s can position themselves just to the other side. They do take at least 1 shell each, make it 3 now. They're actually not in the perfect position here. Racing going to push Shanish out into the open a little, and that's exactly why he went down. Speed's going to pick up the kill, and Butcher's doing just the same thing. Ingenious work from Stronk so far, at least in this kind of southeastern battle, and it pays off. Yeah, not good stuff here for Team Supreme right now. They are still in the battle,
but Strong Siema managed to get the positioning, and Butcher did fantastic work in that T-54, pushing the AMX 3090 out of position. But Team Supreme now pushing in towards that eastern village, but because Butcher is unspotted down in the 0 line, it's going to be very hard.
Yeah, it certainly is. This is a crossfire I don't know if Team Supreme can get out of, and we might just have upsets throughout the entirety of today if it keeps up like this. But a brilliant start for Stronk. Now the 4 tanks remaining for Supreme have a little bit of HP to work around with, and I wouldn't write them out just yet. However, with almost 2k difference in HP on the board, Stronk have such an advantage here. The IS-3 up against Wilson should win out now. That's going to be Griffin closing down the city area. But while all that goes on, Apple Wow was picked up by Speed in the 5100.
Yeah, the thing is, it's game over. You can see Strong CM has so much more hit points. It's still a 4 versus 2, but Speed does find another one, and Griffin really are the only ones who can do something here, remaining in that IS-3 in the middle. Of course, Phoenix in that T-54, yeah, ex-player from GG, well played, in the same position he was at the beginning of the match. So he's going to fall to Ojek, team captain of Strong Siema, and Griffin remains.
Yeah, just Griffin left. Maybe time to consider what went wrong, what happened there, because Supreme just got outplayed a little by Stronk after those first 2 kills coming into Stronk's favor. The HP definitely swung in their hands, and now Lucas, Guccio, and Speed looking to seal the deal here, finish the job off well, as Griffin trying to buy time, trying to stay alive, maybe discuss what just happened, but it's a matter of time here. 2 IS-3s taking him on, make it, joined by a 5100, and Speed had a brilliant game then, picking up a hell of a lot of kills, and actually picking up round 1. Now, Supreme down a round on the attack. Now, if there's any other 2 teams going head-to-head, you go, well, they're on the attack. Most teams won't win on the attack. This is kind of understandable, but it's Supreme. Now, take me through that initial play then, and why Stronk won that out.
Well, Ruinberg's all about getting the positions, and I think if you don't get them, it kind of lynches on that one play. So you can see Team Supreme push forwards. I said, Team Supreme not taking the bait of those 2 T-54s. They end up taking the bait, and you can see Ron falls very quickly. Shanish falls even quicker, and finally FC Dynamo goes down. So 2 MX 3090s and a MT25 all fall just for 1 T-54. Now Butcher's got that 0 line. Phoenix doesn't contest, and that means that these 2 IS-3s here are basically just sitting ducks. So it's already game over.
Yeah, those 4 tanks could do nothing in that position, and it is amazing how quickly things can turn just by, 2 tanks being taken down, make it 3 by the end of it. And even Ron, the captain, being removed, made no odds. He couldn't lead any better from the back lines. But let's now take it into some sort of perspective here. What can Supreme do going forward to stop that sort of play happening again?
I think they should have just been straight off the bat aggressive. The thing is, because they had the 2 MX 3090s, they may not have had reloads to actually go into that engagement against the T-54s. But I think that's generally the most logical choice. Getting that 0 line and then moving on towards the middle, you can really get control of that eastern village from the 0 line, because you're unspotted behind those bushes. You can shoot all the way up towards the other side of the A0 area. So you've got a lot of positional power there, and that's of course where Team Supreme failed. I think they are going to be focusing on that again. Also, we've seen some interesting plays, as for instance 2 or 3 IS-3s up the middle. Maybe a Northern player is also on the cards, but I think Team Supreme just need to be a little bit more finesse.
Yeah, hopefully they can kind of smooth things out, because that was a little sloppy for the guys at the very top of the league, bearing in mind these aren't 2 kind of 5th against 8th position teams or even closer. This is the best of the season, who've barely lost a round, let alone anything else. Yeah,
they're really good. Obviously Team Supreme right at the top of the table, and as I said, Strong Siema with some interesting results. But I mean, Stronk on Ruinberg, they played it a lot, not particularly successful all rounds, a lot of losses. For instance, only winning once on the attack, once on the defense, 12 in total played, so and an equal amount on the attack and defense. So really 1 in 6 rounds played, 16.6%. Not a particularly great storyline for Strong Siema. A little strange, of course, the Polish teams, they like this kind of map. It works out quite well for them, and Strong Siema is a little bit indicative, like Utopia, that they're not always about the IS-3. Okay, yes, so Utopia always has 2 IS-3s, but Strong Siema is like that Polish team who can play with the light tanks as well, and I think that's where their strength and maybe their weakness lies. Okay, so maybe some explodable points, but if you touch that pen again, Ollie, and make that squeaking sound, I will shove it down your throat. What squeaking sound? Do you not hear it every time you do this thing? What? You do that. Oh, yeah. Okay, fair enough.
I will murder you. Anyway, getting into the game. Once again, Team Supreme are on the attack. Stronk is on the defense. And what do we make of the lineup so far and where they're going initially? So
that triple IS-3 through the middle seems to be the tactic Team Supreme does end up going for. Strong Siema with a pretty standard lineup. Now, this is just puts the pressure straight on. Strong Siema obviously is sending 2 T54s down south. You can see Team Supreme have still the double AMX 1390, but they've also got Phoenix there in the T54, and he probably isn't going to that standard position. I think Ron's just going to go straight across.
Ron's going to sit here, wait to be taken down, allow cover now to come in for Shanish and FC Dynamo. Now, last time, Butcher and Racing were able to push them out and allow the crossfire to come in from that eastern village. However, this time Phoenix is there, and they are more than aware of this move. And even though they're taking damage, they are taking these guys down so darn quickly, it doesn't matter. Racing is destroyed, and that 3v2 overmatch, even a 4v2 initially with Ron, just paid out perfectly.
Yeah, but still a 2-for-2 exchange. Shanish and Ron both went down. The only advantage Team Supreme has is the fact that they actually take down 2 tier 8s, and of course, Strong Siema tier 6 in a tier 8, but the hit points are pretty close. But Team Supreme have now that 0 line under control, and they can start playing the classic around the corner Ruinberg, which we see a lot. And as Apwell does receive that first and second shell, he's got to get himself some cover. Yeah,
Phoenix looking like he wants to dive in to save the day, but he's got to be careful. The lines of the battle are almost drawn here. You've got to be cautious. We know Supreme are great in these positions, but they are down a little bit of HP overall.
Yeah, they are lacking a little bit of breathing room here, but I guess, you know, Strong Siema with that T37 down south is going to be a bit of a problem for Team Supreme. I think that's why you see FC Dynamo and the MX 1390 start to rotate. Of course, 12 seconds left on the clock. And Team Supreme, they're looking for the peaks. Ooh, nice shot there by Griffin through the building. You know, that crack between the two houses has been known really since Ural Steel. And still, people get caught out by it. No thanks to some fantastic marksmanship by Griffin, who's been one of the top players, actually. I mean, when he was playing for GG Well Played, I think he was always in the kind of... he was always in the shadows a little bit, but he's really stepped up.
Yeah, he certainly has. And you mentioned that FC Dynamo may be heading down this way to remove Wilson from this spot, and that's exactly what he's done. Mission accomplished. But in the Eastern Village, it's a different picture. Lucas already takes down Apowao and starts to regain control. 4v3. This is getting a little bit difficult for Supreme. They're going to have to pull the pieces together. Phoenix gets a great little bit of a crossfire towards Aojek, who's taken down to pretty much a one-shot in everyone's books. And Phoenix will remove him from the battlefield. But then again, Nuclear is down so low. Of course Lucas is going to push in, and this is getting harder and harder by the second. 3 tanks remain for Supreme against the 3 of Strong, but the HP difference is massive. Supreme retaining 3k against the mere 1.7 of Strong.
Yeah, they also got the better positions. They're just sitting back, waiting for Strong Siema to come onto them, and once SD Dynamo gets off reload in about 16 seconds time, I think it might be game over. It's probably even going to be game over before that, as Griffin does want a piece of meat, takes down Lucas Shiasti, and Gutierrez remains.
Bearing in mind, Griffin had full HP until he committed towards that. He certainly had a good chunk to work with. FC Dynamo a couple of seconds away from having shells to be made, and he might just make it in time to deliver, and he will. Guccio goes down, and Supreme bring it back at 1-1.
Yeah, so this is really falling into the typical pattern we see on Ruinberg. Usually one attacking round's unsuccessful and the other one's successful. And that's not about bad teams, that's about the good teams. You know, the good teams usually lose one attacking round and win one attacking round, and they've managed to do that successfully. So far it's going to plan for Team Supreme with a very solid and convincing tactic.
And let's look at the beginning, because that's where it all started and also where it went all wrong in the first round. This time, it was so much of an overmatch down towards the southeast.
Yeah, that's the thing. It was all about that linchpin move for Team Supreme in the first round where they lost it. This time they get it right and they win it. Ron gets the perfect position for Shanish to go behind. And then it's 3 versus 2, and also the big difference is that Phoenix is now in the fight, whereas before he was in the H9, sitting hull down, he couldn't necessarily help the 2 MX 1390s, but he gets it right. Racing falls, Shanish does fall as well, he's not safe there because he's permatracked, so it's a 2-for-2 exchange, but they have the positions, and also the IS3s have a little bit of time to get into that Eastern Village, so it's exactly what Team Supreme have practiced, and they managed to execute it properly.
So now 1-for-1 is fairly good, actually, to be fair, for Strong. So that's given them some sort of backing ground. And you'd surely then argue maybe they could replicate that, or do you think their attacking side's going to be a little bit weaker than what Supreme were able to bring?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's definitely going to be weaker, but I would be curious to see if, you know, Stronk Siema just give Team Supreme a taste of their medicine. If I was Stronk Siema, I'll do that exact tactic Team Supreme just did. I mean, yes, Team Supreme would have an idea how to counter it, but it's a pretty common tactic. And if you get it right, it works. Simple as that. They just need to get the timings right, and they need to get the overmatch. And also, you know, having two MX 1390s is a very gutsy move because they don't really do that much damage. The time between shots as well is not great, and they're pretty vulnerable in many respects. So that's why you don't see them so much. So it's a ballsy move from Stronk Siema if they do it.
And of course, it's going to be down to the individual skill. My God, man, I will murder you.
It sounds like chalk on a
exactly.
On a
it's making me just twinge a little bit in the background. But let's talk about the situation now. This does come down a little bit to player skill here, surely.
Yeah, I mean, of course it does. Apple probably peaked a little bit too early, but this is a big thing here, you know. Team Supreme don't want Wilson to come from behind in that T-37, so they deal with him. SC Dynamo goes on reload. Good pick up there for Stronk Siema because they saw one tier 8 tanks out of the equation for Team Supreme. They push in, but you can see every single angle, a kind of triangle formation from Team Supreme. They can make the shots onto the pushing tanks for Stronk Siema. Good work there by the T-54 as well to help them out.
All right, so the side changes come in, and now it's this turn, Stronk's turn to attack. They'll be in blue, starting off with a very indicative play towards the northern side, and Supreme out there to stop them, and this is a little different. Yeah,
this is a very heavy northern push. Now, this hasn't really worked out for quite a while because you'll see the damage going on to the side of these T-54s pretty much immediately, and the Carnivore and that tier 8 British heavy tank, this could be bad news here for Stronk Siema.
It certainly could be. We saw this being toyed with previously, but look at the damage coming in towards Racing. He's received a lot of speed as well on the play, but New Mulcho just sitting nice and close in the Bulldog, doing what he does best, getting that damage dealt, but will he be able to do enough before he goes down? He's vulnerable as hell. Butcher's waiting to just destroy him as he does, but it's a 1-for-1 exchange.
Look how quickly Lucas Yasti just got melted. The previous team captain of Evil Panel Squad just not standing a chance, but Stronk Siema now have the cap under control. Losing that IS-3 was a big blow though.
A massive one. Anyway, cap still being kind of dealt with, and look at this tank. You can just place it out there and just hope that it can keep those bounces coming in, but then again, Stronk have a good angle on it this time.
Yeah, actually the shots onto the side of the Carnivore are really the ones that are connecting. I mean, the big strength of the Carnivore is its top frontal armor. It's got a fantastic angle on it and quite a lot of armor in general, so it can really bounce a lot, but it's not working out for Phoenix as Guzio takes him down. So this is going well for Stronk Siema right now. Yeah,
it certainly was. Bearing in mind Racing was able to get some shots in there for free as well. He was certainly not covered off all that well by the rest of Team Supreme, which is equated to the current situation. 5.4k with Team Supreme, 3.6 for Stronk, and now 3 tanks looking like they want to take on Nuclear. They have the overmatch, they have shells available, Butcher has reload, and there we go. They're going to go in for this one. Nuclear is still waiting for a couple of shots to be made, but he's holding strong. One by one they're peaking, and one by one he's getting lower on HP.
Yeah, as well, and Ron is finally being locked down by Wilson in that T-37 in that Western battle. Speed finds Nuclear, so you know, Team Supreme are hanging on by a thread.
Yeah, and FC Dynamo is down to less than a one-shot. A strong breeze might take him down, but Griffin covers him off for at least a pickup towards speed. But Butcher will do the damage in the end, but 10 seconds left on this cap. Stronk want to get this job done. Ron cannot get into this fight. He's being locked down by Wilson. Shanish, where are you? Griffin, where are you? You need to get into this fight, but the reset did come in. Or did one of the tanks push out?
No, it was Ron in the background. He's just peeking, making the shots.
Yeah, did you get one?
Wilson, the problem is he received a shell, so he can't go 1 versus 1 against Shanish, against Ron. But Shanish in that MX-5100 is coming out north. Both Aerojet and Guzio don't make that shell.
But he's got 10 seconds to do something here, and he has to make it quick. He has to make the job count. Butcher down to a one-shot. 7 seconds now on this board. The IS-3 is slowly coming around the back, but Ron does manage to take down one. But it's not someone who's capping. 3 seconds to get the reset. Shanish just trying to get into position, but he can't do it. And I think Stronk, oh my god, that was in time. The reset came in.
The reset just came in the last second, but still it's 2 versus 4. Stronk Siema have slightly less hit points because Griffin hasn't received any damage, but the guns are still in the game.
But Griffin is taking them out one by one. Butcher is down. Don't tell me Griffin can do this. Ron's still in the battle as well, though. Griffin has to be careful where he uses his shells here. This needs to be perfect, and it is. Griffin, what a beastly bit of play coming out. You said before he was in the shadows in GG Well Played, or back in the day of where his old teams, but now he is certainly making an appearance. And now 2v2, Ron is still here as well. One shot bounces, doesn't connect towards racing though.
But Strong Siema holding their ground. Team Supreme now ahead in hit points. Griffin has a lot of work to do, but he's such a competent player, and he's going for that peek against Gutio.
First shot is actually connected onto him though. That was the first time they've been able to do damage. He's moved up, kind of negating Racing's vision. Racing can't really make a shot on this one, and to be fair, Ron's going to keep an eye on as well. Griffin, this is dangerous. He's going to be heading in to try and stop this one. 10 seconds left. He needs to make this shot count. And here we go, Gutio up against Griffin, 8 seconds on the board, Racing in the background. He's buying his time, Racing takes down Ron. He doesn't land the shot, I don't think he's got time for this. Griffin, he let it slip at the end. He
definitely had to push in, and he didn't. And Gutio gets the better of him. Griffin going for the edgy shot on the top of that IS-3 turret. It doesn't connect. An unfortunate roll for Griffin, but you know, Team Supreme in such a weird position where they had the advantage in terms of hit points, but managed to give it away.
I don't know what to make of that. The thing is that Griffin did so well at the end, but the timing just wasn't on his side by the end of it. Ron went down, so there was another shot that they couldn't make to reset it, and he took the opportunity. But he did do darn well. But then again, as you said, the road to getting to that position should have been long changed by that point. I'm so surprised that Supreme are actually trailing currently to Stronk.
Yeah, this is an awesome match right now. I mean, you could see the way Strong Siema took a lot of damage on the cross going up north, but they got so many tanks there. They managed to take down the Carnival, and they managed to take down the IS-3. And then, you know, it was a really good exchange for them. They, you know, stuck to their guns in that cap. They stuck to their positions. And because Griffin had to hold that middle road for so long, he was out of the fight. And when he did get into it, it was a clutch situation. He could have won that match, but he gave it away. He went for the pixel shot, which is never a good thing, because you have that roll, the RNG factor when you make a shot. So even if you have it lined up perfectly, it can still go straight over like it did.
And let's just see how this started to begin. Obviously, it did take a little bit of time to come to this point, but 16 seconds here. Shanish still alive. The IS-3 was still en route, which is Griffin, of course. But Shanish did try and make a play out of this one.
Yeah, the thing is, Shanish, this shot here destroys his engine, which makes him twice as slow, which means that the whole of Strong Siema's tanks, Butcher and Racing, could just dance around him. He's so slow, he can't get the reset. Griffin does manage to get it. And yeah, a really unfortunate play for Shanish. But again, Strong Siema, really putting everything on the line, lying everything on the line, and it working out so perfectly for them is fantastic. Now, it's a 4 versus 2 situation, but Griffin has a great position. Ron as well, they're holding that cross together. Griffin finds Butcher, which probably shouldn't have happened either, and then he finds another one. So this is awesome work by Griffin right into the very end.
The thing is that you can't always expect someone like Griffin to have to be able to do that. That's the thing. Sure, he's a very capable player. You saw it almost being pulled off like a 1v4 essentially. But you can't just say, hey, Griffin, do you mind doing that every single time? Like, it's great when one player can, but it shouldn't be your kind of backup point that you fall back to. And hopefully Supreme pull things together, because this is very uncharacteristic of them. And is this just Stronk playing well, or is this Supreme being slightly off marker?
I think this is Strong playing well. I mean, a lesser team would have pushed out that cap and tried and gone for the kills, but they didn't. They stuck to their guns. So it's just going well for Strong Siema on Team Supreme's map choice. Let's see if they can actually make this a 3-1.
Well, that's the big question, is it? Can we really have 2 upsets in one day? I don't know if my heart can take it, but we're seeing a different start from Stronk. They're heading down towards the south this time. Is that them just switching things up, or just not trying to do the same thing twice?
Well, the interesting thing is that they're actually putting 2 T-54s up there instead of just the one, which Team Supreme did. But clearly Zero Line's aim the game, and that's what they've got. Team Supreme not even contesting that. They still got the Carnival up into BA7. But I think this is a good start for Strong Siema. They got that Zero Line. They can just wait for the IS-3s to get into position, and then they can make a move towards that eastern village.
Yeah, this is interesting. Team Supreme not even trying to keep dominance or supremacy towards that eastern side, but you are seeing the cap being toyed with now. AJ, Gutio, and Lucas gonna head through, just in those IS-3s. Force the hand of Supreme. They've got to be careful here, Supreme. They can't let this slip too far. The IS-3s, they're not quick. They're going to take some time to get to here. Yeah,
Team Supreme have gone for a very heavy lineup. I mean, almost exclusively IS-3s. Not a single light tank, unusually, in that one. well, not a single tier 8 light tank, of course, the Bulldog, and there are LTTBs are tier 7. Wilson in that nice boost position does get found, so, you know, Strong Siema now have to push out of there. Because Team Supreme had to commit to that western side, they can actually go into the Eastern Village, and they seem to have done well.
Strong have actually won the Eastern Village. I don't know how long they can hold on for it for. That's a different matter, but they've actually got control here, but they're going straight across. This is dangerous play, but they've made it, and they might just catch Shanish out here. He now has 4 tanks barreling down towards him. This should be a walk in the park for Strong. And it is. Butcher's going to take him down, but now how can Supreme pull themselves back into this?
This is great now for Strong Siema. They took down Shanish, one of the best players and one of the most consistent players for Team Supreme. They have the higher grounds, but because they commit all the way to Shanish, they have given that 0 line kind of away to Supreme, and also Apwell finding and catching Racing Potato is a bit bad. If I was Strong Siema, I would hold my line. So win those engagements around the corners. Don't let Team Supreme get into this village again, and just keep them at bay.
It looks like they're now on the defending side. Strong have kind of flipped the map, but bearing in mind, Supreme still have so much HP to work with. They can commit a little bit towards these shots, but I'm kind of waiting to see Strong's endgame plan here. Speed, taking 2 shells, make it 3. He's down so low here. Griffin finds Guccio. Phoenix towards Speed. It's all falling apart at the seams now for Strong. They had the positions, but they just couldn't hold on to them. Butcher and Airjack are desperately low. Butcher short connects 1, but now down to a 1-shot. Phoenix can come in, and they kind of can certainly do damage very, very quickly as Phoenix displays, as the last man, Lucas, is picked up, and Supreme pull it all together at a 2-2 scoreline.
Yeah, I mean, you could see what happened in that Eastern Village. Both teams were going for this peak situation. I mean, Ruinberg is about the caps, which one do you go for first, and then it's about the peaks. And Team Supreme were doing like 500-600 damage to Strong Siema every single turn. And then when Strong Siema were going forwards, it was already game over. They were down to like 200-300 hit points. They hadn't lost a tank, but they had lost so much hit points. So, you know, that's just a testament to Team Supreme's skill.
It really is. And not being flustered by the fact they were pulled out of position, that the cap was down to around 10 seconds-ish, holding their nerve and retaking that village like absolute champions. So something the Supreme are certainly very, very competent at, and certainly know their way around Ruinberg. But still, this is a very good show from Stronk. I think the Polish community is going to be going pretty wild for this one so far. We have this at maybe a 5-1, you know, 5-2, something like that.
2-2. First map.
2-2 on Ruinberg of all maps.
Yeah, this is going really well for Strong Siema. You know, as I said at the beginning of the show, at the beginning of the introduction to this match, Strong Siema is that team that can either turn up and perform, you know, admirably, or they can just, you know, turn up and really be kind of wayward and not really know what they're doing. Looks like they're gone for the former, and so far it's going very well for them. You know, they're in. Apart from being they're the first team to be in a position where they can actually win, and now they're moving on to Himmelsdorf.
So now we had this discussion earlier. Once again, the win conditions that Stronk would have to even try and go for a win. Now we kind of theorized they just had to make it to map 2 to stand a chance, because on paper Supreme should have trashed Ruinberg, just straight up, you know, 3-1, maybe a 4-0 even. But if Stronk came away with a little something and made it to map 2, that's when the chance started to really come about. Do you think maybe they could do well here on Himmelsdorf? Now we're seeing it come to light.
Yeah, after Ruinberg, Himmelsdorf is their second favorite map. So technically, Strong Siema, you know, they got their map choices. If you look at Team Supreme, Ruinberg's not their most favorite. Even Himmelsdorf is not their most favorite. You know, you're talking about mines if you're Team Supreme. So this is going really well for Strong Siema. I think they won the pick and ban phase in terms of maps, and I think now they're winning the match very well. I think their plays are fantastic. The way they're thinking around Team Supreme is also fantastic. And I think Himmelsdorf, their map choice is on the defensive side for them as well, something they're very good at. They haven't lost a single round.
There's so much to be looking forward to in map 2, but of course, it's not just about us, Melee. The people at home must be going wild about this.
Absolutely.
I know how loud the Polish fans can get. They must be having a good time.
It seems like they can't really comprehend what's going on. It's like it's too good to believe. And actually, funny to know is Carmen predicted today's matches as well.
Yep.
And he got told off by Mitch.
I saw that. Mitch on Twitter saying, I think you give them too much credit.
Exactly. But he is right. He seems right.
He seems to be right quite a lot.
Yeah, that's really scary. So, Mitch...
Shut up.
That's what she
Brilliant.
said.
Right.
Yeah, but it's true. He said Synergy versus Penta 50-50% chance. Synergy on paper definitely rated higher than Penta. So Stronk Siema 40-60 versus Supreme, which is quite a lot for Stronk's form of performance.
Yeah.
And people at home backing up Supreme with 64%.
That's still quite low though for Supreme. Like, let's remember the Virtus Pro votes. They were, 90s. That was crazy. Now people see this, starting to rise up. It's pretty good.
So this is really promising for the second map. And people, before we head into the second map, of course, a little break to get in those votes, because the votes will close right when we start the second map. So you still have time left and use it. That's my advice to you guys. And we hopefully see you back after a short break.
Welcome back to the WGLEU. We are into Game 2 and get ourselves prepared for Map 2. And I thought at the start of this game it'd be a little bit more one-sided because it is the league's leaders currently facing off against someone who's quite some way further down. It's Supreme up against Stronk, and so far it's 2-2.
Yeah.
What is going on here?
I think just Strong Siema came into Ruinberg without any kind of inhibition. I think they look like they're a team that doesn't have anything to lose when they're playing against Team Supreme. And Team Supreme are just careless in a lot of respects. I think they're overcommitted in some situations, and they gave away that first round without really fighting it at all. And Strong Siema just look like they're on point. The players are playing well, the tactics are working, they know when they won and they know when they lost, and they're just hanging on for dear life when they need to. So it's going really well. And now they move on to Himmelsdorf, which is their second favourite map, and not the second favourite map of Team Supreme.
Now, we saw Ding getting extremely close to beating Supreme not too long ago, including Ruinberg in the map pool. Is this going to be another one of these incidents where it has to go all the way before Supreme turns up?
I think Team Supreme now will come into their own. I think, after that first map, they realize they can't really take Strong Siema lightly. They need to go into this match with all guns blazing, everything to do. But still, we saw like in the last round, Penta against Synergy. Synergy is supposed to be the better team on Himmelsdorf, but they just didn't manage to make anything work for them. And that's really the vulnerability in Team Supreme right now.
Well, let's get ready for it. On the attacking side is Team Supreme. On the defending side is Stronk. And let's see if they can hold it together. You Polish fans out there, get loud. Get this out on Facebook, Twitter, put your link out there. These guys might take down the giants of this league, the super team that got pulled together. That'd be something to write home about. But let's see what they come into this with. Now, they've got the 12T, and if I'm not mistaken, you'd argue that would normally be used over by the western side.
Sure.
Why are we currently seeing so much of a focus towards the east?
Well, we often see like an initial push onto the hill. There's absolutely no reason to, and to be honest, Team Supreme do push off the hill. They might catch Strong Siema a little bit unawares because they are pushing all the way down that 3 line. Now, of course, Team Supreme, they played against Wusa last on this match, and they managed to pick up one of the attacking rounds in a 3-1 scoreline altogether with some pretty aggressive hill play as well.
This could be really interesting. So Wilson just gets deleted from the map.
Yeah.
Now that's no surprise.
That shouldn't happen though. He should be.
Surely he could back away.
Yeah, but I guess as well, Strong Siema didn't expect Team Supreme to be so aggressive. Normally you see like one tank peeking, they exchange a shell or two, and that's it. And Team Supreme just don't wait. They push off the hill. They see only one tank, one T-37.
So they're like, screw it, let's go.
And they know that that's really the only thing that Strong Siema has there.
So now surely Stronk must be scrambling here to either get back, get in a position to stop this cap, or make sure they're in the right spot to defend it. And now looking at this, we've got Applewell, we've got Ron, we've got Dynamo, and they're actually getting some form of formation, it seems like, where they're using Ron for cover here, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really good position because you're behind a strut in that house, a kind of structural wall, which can actually provide a lot of cover to a really small tank like an AMX-12T. A couple of shells go back and forwards now. Strong Siema wanting to keep a hold of that unbroken win record on the defensive side, 3 wins out of 3 so far. They still got plenty of time. The position that 12T in only really allows one tank to go there. So it's not like Team Supreme have won it just yet. And you can see, the changing of position of those IS-3s. That's the crucial point. Which way do they come from?
And now looking at this, the IS-3s are heading up that 6 line, and I'm curious to see what the next stage of this plan is from Supreme, because it has to be more than just this.
But if Guzio, Ojek and Racing go right, they can actually just delete Griffin off the map.
But isn't there 2 tanks waiting just off to the right, if I'm not mistaken? So Phoenix and Shanish there in the 5100s do get some good crossfire, but not a great deal. 300, 200, oh, the fire coming in. Somehow Guzio lives, and Ojek actually gets run down. So that's the kind of plan a little out of sorts, and now let's see what Supreme have to offer.
This is really interesting. Clearly, the IS-3 is doing their jobs. Absorbing a lot of damage from the IS-3s of Shanish and Phoenix on the hill, but Griffin onto Guzio, one of the star players of Strong Siema, going down. That's really bad for them now, and the exchanges aren't going well from here on out.
No, actually, somehow Supreme, even though they're not necessarily on the back foot, but kind of in a little bit of a tight spot, they're still actually getting the shots to connect. However, Strong need to look for other options here. There's still Phoenix, there's still Shanish up in the background as well, and the cap started again.
Yeah, but Phoenix and Challenge have 2 shells. I think Team Supreme are in a really good position. They've got the tier 8 advantage. They've got more hit points by quite some margin. They've got the higher ground, and they feel comfortable. You can see Shanish is now on reload. That's, you know, a real big indicator that they're comfortable in their position. They also know they have some time before Stronk Siema actually makes the next move. Now, Stronk Siema, they need to maybe, you know, get a little bit of heal control. And now Phoenix is on reload. This might be their opportunity.
It could be, but then again, you know, Supreme are on the attack. They have to eventually play to close this one down. And with 2 minutes and 55 seconds, 52 now, they have to be a little bit careful of that timer. They need to be able to not just sit here and hope to win it out by Stronk walking towards them, as eventually they'll just back out. I
think Team Supreme should just push forward. You know, you got Racing on basically no hit points. The 5100 and behind is on reload. They could just take Ojek and Racing down in one volley. It would be game over. You know, as Team Supreme does, they're playing it pretty safe. It's to be expected, maybe. But this is 100% their game if they just push.
They seem hesitant, which is very uncharacteristic of a team with so many superstars in it. But Ojek now just going to be toying with the idea of getting involved here. And now they're starting to line up. We're seeing the 5100, the T32 splitting off from the pack, maybe looking to catch out Lucas, but Lucas is actually sitting fairly pretty, and Speed's in the background, bearing in mind. And they've got to be careful, but Butcher getting caught out on the move up towards the cap circle, and that could have gone so much worse for him, but he is still alive. He has every single shell available to him, and he could deal some damage, but 50 seconds still going on this timer. Suprema, this is going to be down to the wire if Stronk try and reset this.
That was really good timing for Team Supreme because they got the cross before Stronk Siema could get all their tanks and go for the overmatch against these 3 IS3s.
Butcher now, he has to be so cautious. He cannot get caught out here, and it looks like Stronk want to try and make the plays, but Shanish, perfect position. He does catch out one. Tracks Racing, slows him down from the pack. Phoenix punishes Lucas, and now just Aojek and Racing alive. Make it just Aojek and Speed in the background. But sadly, that slightly disjointed push just not going to work out for Stronk, even though, looking at Supreme, they are quite low here.
Yeah, they are pretty low. I mean, the hit point is not that far away. But it looks like this is game over. Jack falls Speed, last one remaining. That guy who was playing the back lines in the AMX 5100 the whole match. And done a respectable amount of damage as well. Pretty good accuracy. Just not a lot of opportunity. Now on reload. 53 hit points remaining in that 5100. It's going to be game over. And Team Supreme are going to creep ahead in this match. Only by a little, though.
Certainly will. Somehow Speed does make it away, though. I don't think he can pull off any hero plays. How long is he on reload? No. 25 seconds for reload to become available. 13 seconds on the cap. He can just drive away all he wants. He can't change a singular thing.
No, but the thing is, you know, T32, 2 IS3s and a 5100 remaining. 5100 doesn't have enough HP to actually chase him. Hey. So Team Supreme are going to go for the safe side and just go for the cap.
I think that sums up Supreme's game then. Safe from start to finish. Didn't really push the boat out too much. They had a focus and they stuck it the hell out then.
Yeah, but the thing is, you know, it was a gamble from Team Supreme. They thought, okay, the T37's there. Usually, you know, if there's just one T37, there's nothing else, because if you really want to get hill control, you have a 5100 just in front of it, kind of hull down a little bit, just to provide some firepower. Now, Team Supreme pushed off the hill, very aggressive, and then they just sat themselves into that cap. All the side-scraping tanks, the IS-3s, and the T-32, to be fair to them as well, to get the hull down. They knew the Rex would come. They knew they could use them as cover, with the two 5100s behind to provide support. So really nice setup by Team Supreme. Stronk Siema, they tried to do something about it. They went for the overmatch, but they received too much damage. It just didn't work out.
And let's have a look at that lineup, actually, when they all did start to get to position. And it was just the firing squad, pretty much, sadly, for these guys. And
yeah,
talking about the 12T, surely there's another tank that could be placed here, but was that almost a play to make Stronk think they were going towards maybe the west here?
Yeah, it's definitely a possibility. I mean, the 12T is just a small tank in general, so any place you can put it where, you know, being small is a crucial and a vital attribute is good. So you can see a Gutio gets taken down. That's probably the big mistake from Stronk Siema. One tier 8 tank ahead, it makes it very hard for Stronk Siema to actually get a situation where they can push in, they can take down Team Supreme. So Gutio should have stayed alive, he should have stayed safe. The man's been a beast this season, so you can't really fault him in a lot of respects, but I think Team Supreme had it from there on out.
Well, Supreme starting out well, keeping it safe, keeping calm, and doing what was required. Can they do it again, or will Stronk have something up their sleeve? I'm kind of hoping they do, because It'd be such a shame if the first map was so close and so well, you know, played out, and then they let it slip in the second. But we are at least going to see what Supreme can now offer on Himmelsdorf, a map that we haven't seen so much from them. It was obviously played every now and then, but it's not been one of their biggest focuses. Now, once again, back into this, we are seeing the 12T picked up again for Run, but a very different direction Supreme's heading in.
Yeah, I think Strong Siema is one of those teams, though, that really just sticks to their guns and is going to do the same thing they did last time, which was, of course, a very heavy push down to from A1, A2 down to K1, K2. The thing is, you know, if they're like Penta, you know, you just put 250 100s there, you have enough burst damage to actually do whatever you want, you know, get a little bit of early hit point advantage and make it work for you. You've got, for Team Supreme Run, making sure he spots that middle area for the rest of his tanks in behind, make sure, okay, so, you know, you haven't got Wilson in that T-37 spotting down that line, so Team Supreme have a lot of options. They're not going for a hill push this time, it's just putting an AMX 5100 up there with the rest of the tanks below.
So, smart play, the spots have come out indeed, so they know roughly where these guys are heading towards, and the rest of the pack waited. They didn't commit beyond here. It looks like they're actually backing out of this one, so they're not going to just, you know, go in off you know, just a whim. They're clearly playing this out, trying to respond to what Stronk is actually bringing to the front here, looking for maybe a nice 4-2 scoreline to put them in the position to maybe go for a win at the end. And Wilson, once again, the singular man.
Yeah, the one man who has to try and, you know, keep control of that hill. I think it's always interesting when the defensive side doesn't go for the hill at all, but Wilson gets spotted, and Ojek receives the first bit of damage, but more returns towards Shanish. As, to be honest, just push up the A-line. Looks like it's been uncovered by by Strong Siema, so actually this push around the side from the IS-3s is a good one. And you got to remember as well, Team Supreme didn't spot those IS-3s when they pushed around. They only spotted them when they were trying to reset, so they had no idea Strong Siema was going for this tactic.
And I don't think any of us expected it, but Wilson's in trouble. Ron's showing him what for there, but this time Wilson actually makes it out alive. Not much, but it's still a tank in the game. It's still a gun in the game. He can still maybe play some sort of role, but Cap's been started, but look at this. Shanish holding this maneuver. He's got to be careful. I don't think they know he's there just yet. He hasn't been spotted, and he's going to play this one smart and calm. He could come around the back at the perfect time, but Applewell, Griffin, FC Dynamo all starting to kind of get to this point, but he's going to start pushing off just as that 5100 will get towards the center of the map, and I can't wait to see what Shanish can achieve here. He's right around the back of them. He has every single shell to make, but can he land the shots? Ojek takes one. Guccio now next on the chopping board. Nice bit of work from Shanish there coming through. 70 seconds on the cap still, but they're trying to cut through. They're trying to go down the 6 line instead and actually kind of negate what Shanish is getting through to.
Yeah, but Shanish just expended all of his shells. Now comes Speed is going to get the kill onto him, surely.
Oh, if he lands this, it should be a good bit of work from Speed. But not ideal there, but Shanish goes low and Speed will deliver, taking him down in the end. 2 shells remain for him, and maybe a little short-sighted play coming out then from Shanish.
Oh, that was really, really good play there from Speed. The perfect timing on him, giving Strong Siema a bit of an advantage. Team Supreme had 1,000 more hit points, but Team Supreme have every single angle. They can shoot down towards where they're racing. They got the angle on the side as well, and Speed will need to reload for a few seconds. Another problem is that Strong Siema have lost control of that northern cap, which is clearly starting to get a little bit low.
Oh yeah, 17 seconds and counting now. They may not stick here, but they might as well keep it an option. They're going to force Stronk's hand. They're going to say, guys, you got to come to us. We're not going to walk to you. You better challenge us, and you better be ready. Griffin slowing down Speed. He can't get into this battle without getting past Griffin. Now he's on reload, but look at Aojek. Look at Butcher. Oh, beautiful work on that. Just holding back Aojek, but the cap does get reset, but only by such a small margin.
Oh, this is going well for Strong Siema. Oh, I don't know. It's going backwards and forwards.
Speed's going around.
And the Team Supreme do look like they want to go forwards. Butcher's completely outmatched.
Butcher's absolutely done for here. He's just kind of being roasted on every single front. You're going to see Nuclear pushing up in that T-32, utilizing the corpse of Aojek to just give him cover, but it's FC Dynamo to deliver, and the cap still going strong. 3 seconds on this one. In the background, there's a 5100. I think it was maybe, I'm not sure who that was. It must have been Speed, but it doesn't matter as Racing now going to throw his body into the fire pretty much. And by this point, Supreme of 4.3k HP. Sadly for Stronk, they've just got Racing.
Yeah, Racing left in the IS-3, the final man remaining for Strong Siema, the Polish team now 4-2 down as Griffin makes sure of that, and it does put Team Supreme on match point.
Great play from Supreme as well. Just seemed... Okay, actually, tell a lie. So let's remember they're top of this league, all right? If there were any other team, that would have been fine. But then again, there were some individual errors. Shanish not seeing the bigger picture. A little bit of sloppiness here and there, but not much. But then again, if this was Virtus Pro, when Virtus Pro were at the top for so long, we'd have been just as critical.
Yep.
So what do we make of their performance so far? They seem to have at least a good idea of how to play this.
Yeah, the thing is basically, Strong Siema got made. Team Supreme knew exactly what Strong Siema were going to do. I mean, I said beforehand that I didn't think Team Supreme knew that in that previous round that Strong Siema actually pushed around with the IS-3s. Maybe they did, because they had Shanish in the position which was holding the back lines for them, and he went forwards and he did a fair bit of damage, which gave, you know, a little bit of leeway for Team Supreme when they were going for that cap. And then they pushed really aggressively in the northern cap, giving themselves a few more seconds, setting up the crossfire as well, and forcing, you know, Strong Siema to go into these alleyways of death, basically, where you could see Team Supreme just made the peaks and managed to take them down. But the crucial factor again was that Team Supreme knew that Strong Siema would come from the back lines, and they just played for that perfectly.
Yeah, let's watch it back, of course, just highlighting exactly what Ollie said and what it kind of led to. The point that, sure, at this point the cap is still pretty much in favour of Supreme, but Stronk weren't out of the game at this point. But then again, how much damage got dealt towards Aojek instantly was almost irrevocable.
The thing is, you know, putting Ojek and Butcher to try and reset the cap against 5 tanks is just not good enough.
But the one thing I want to point out as well, what Phoenix was able to achieve against Speed here, the amount of damage him and Ron instantly were aware of.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was fantastic work from Team Supreme. Wilson as well, you know, he tries to make a few shells, he gets destroyed. I think, you know, Strong Siema just had to set up to have basically all their tanks. I mean, all the 2 tanks that push forwards there, and then Lucas Shiasti and Racing as well, and then just have Speed take care of Griffin in that IS-3. Even if he goes down, they would have still maybe be able to get the overmatch here against Team Supreme. But it's such a one-sided match at this point. 4.4k in favor of Team Supreme, and you know, a really a match about timing, and they got it perfectly spot on.
Yeah, it was pretty darn solid in all. But now they're on match point. I kind of worry that they can just push and close. That's the one thing for me. It's if Supreme get this confident, they don't have to be passive. They don't have to be ingenious. Probably 1 out of 2 times if they throw a Hail Mary in there, they'll probably pick it up. And they're a team that can do it. So, look at the lineups. Completely symmetrical, if I'm not mistaken. T37 and a hell of a lot of IS-3s and 250-100. So, exactly the same here. But where are we seeing Strong go for a start to, as they are on the attack? Yeah,
they're switch around to the attacking side, a crucial point, of course. They are all pushing towards that hill, which is interesting, and Griffin making a shell towards that one, and Team Supreme also setting up for a push on the western side perhaps, but they've got a slow lineup, so Team Supreme clearly wanting to play more the city fight than the western fight, and obviously Ron playing that T37 is definitely indicative that they want to win this one straight out in a firefight. So, I don't know, I think this is a good start from Strong Siema. Ron as well scrambling back in the T37 to try and spot the hill.
So it's almost like what happened the other way around almost. So kind of Strong doing what we saw Supreme do, but there's no T37, aka Wilson, to be absolutely obliterated first and foremostly. It's going to be Ron, who's actually already fallen back. He's going to be sitting by the cap there with Applewell, and Ron might be able to see these guys on the cross here. And he does. They're getting lit up, or at least a couple are. Racing certainly did. So they've got a good bit of information, and do you think they're going to be expecting this?
Yeah, they definitely are. Look, Apoel, Nuclear, and Ron are all in a position to receive this shell, receive this tactic even. You know, it's really hard to win against a team that's made a tactic, really understand how a tactic works, and then try and use it against them. Yeah,
if it's maybe your basics, your generic tactics, then sure, maybe it'll work. But this was quite a team-specific play that came out of Team Supreme. So if Stronk are able to replicate this and still win, that'd be very impressive. But we have to wait and see if that comes to maybe an option, as already they're starting to look a little weary here. But Aojek, Lucas, and Wilson splitting off.
Yeah, they are. They're going to go on their own splinter group here. But Phoenix and Griffin are in defense. You know, this is the thing. Team Supreme were in a position to receive tanks from the hill. They're in a position to receive tanks from the 1 to 3 line, and also rotates around from Lucas Shiasti and Aojek. So this is a really good setup for Team Supreme. They're locking down Strong Siema, they're keeping the angles, not receiving too much damage, making sure that if they have to, they can get the cap as well on the western side, cap number 1. I guess the only thing they really have to be worried about is Wilson roaming in that T37.
Well, we'll see how much damage a T37 can do. I'm trying to remember who it was on the hill before who did so much damage in it. There's one player who did wonderfully in that tank. I can't remember who it was for the life of me, but it can do a good bit of work. It can get some great information, but it's also a 5100 and IS-3 there, so it's kind of difficult. But Lucas dealing with Ron, so that's one tank down for Team Supreme. Then against the captains, now he has kind of, you know, the captain's view of the ship. He can just kind of overwatch what everyone's doing, and Stronk are behind in HP, so a little lacking here, but a bit of a standoff. And this is where I think Stronk might struggle, is trying to execute the final moments of Supreme strategies, and when they can depend on those player skills to come through.
Yeah, so let's see what Stronk Siema can do now. I mean, you can see that they got a tank in the hill. That's speed, obviously, in that 5100. Got the T-37 down south. So I think the most logical choice for Stronk Siema is to get themselves all together and just try and get the overmatch onto a tank. Take it down very quickly and just continue like that. But Lucas Yasti getting the better of by Apoel doesn't help them, as he's now a one-shot. So that cap is almost out of the equation.
Yeah, and Apoel just looking. You can see this guy is such a brilliant player when he comes towards these sort of matters, and I do love that feature we have in the spec client where we can see exactly where they're aiming then. He was ready and willing to deal that final blow towards Lucas if he dared to peek, and he's utilising Ron going down there as pretty much cover, allowing him maybe that little bit more freedom.
That's the whole point. I mean, it's a classic setup. When we were first seeing the changes to Himmelsdorf, that cap in front of where Apoel is, when you can see the corner just on where Gutio is heading towards, it was really hard to deal with, and a lot of the teams were scratching their heads. How do we actually deal with that cap? They finally found a way, which is sacrificing a tier 6 to put the IS-3 hull down and just to obliterate anything that goes near.
I love watching Apoel play as well. He's already on 2.3k. Bearing in mind, he's sat in the cap that they want to get to. He's got an IS-3 staring at him. He had Lucas giving it a go as well, and he's just landed another shot towards Gutio. This is not the guy you want to be having as a linchpin to get in towards where you want to go.
But you can see why that T-37 works so well, because it's got
Look at this guy.
It's got very interesting turret design where the Amarak is basically like a hanging cliff off the side of the turret. You can actually shoot underneath the turret and be completely safe. The only thing that's showing is the gun. So you can be hull down, you can't get shot anywhere apart from in the mantlet, and of course you're never going to penetrate that. So it's a perfect position, and so for Apoel, doing about 2 tier 8 tanks worth of damage.
3k. And hell, why not get a little more aggressive? Just make sure he can't come near, and just brilliant stuff from Apoel. Sure, he's a little vulnerable from racing, but the track's back up and running. He can retract back into position if he feels it's a problem. Butcher does take down Phoenix, so he might have to use that, but there's Shanish coming into the matter with Nuclear. It's not just a one-man show, but hell, when it's Apoel, it's hard to look away.
Yeah, Apoel's just going to start cleaning the floor of Stronk Siema. Of course, you know, Team Supreme on match point and speed.
3 kills, 4.1k.
4.1k, it's just unbelievable. One-man army, to say the very least.
I don't know what to say about this guy anymore. Shanish can find speed, but Supreme claiming the game, or should I just say Apoel in that final round claiming the game, because he had a brilliant match then. Just beautiful work from him.
Yeah, fantastic work. To be fair, though, you know, his team gave him that responsibility.
Sure.
His team,
Ron sacrificed his life for it.
Ron sacrificed his life. You know, the team played around him. He was in a position to deal with what Stronk Siema were doing. He dealt with it perfectly, only missed one shell that whole match. So fantastic work from Apoel, of course, very deserving as one of the best players in Team Supreme. And, you know, I think altogether it's, you know, once again, Team Supreme willing and waiting to receive more than one tactic there from Stronk Siema. You know, they had the 8-line locked down, they had the hill push locked down, they had everything locked down. And Stronk Siema, they just chose an option, and none of them would have worked, I don't think.
And let's look back at the most adorable player on Team Supreme. Apoel just making his shots there in the highlight, as you can see, utilising the cover that Ron sacrificed, gave to him, gifted to him in the very last moments. And just the way he's playing around that tank is superb. And it does highlight exactly how you can utilise the tank that Ron was in. Yeah,
the problem here for Stronk Siema, though, is really once they came charging off that hill, because Team Supreme were ready and waiting to receive their previous tactics when they were actually attacking, Stronk Siema were lost for words. And because that 5100 IS-3 of Griffin and Shanish are in the D line, you know, what does Stronk Siema do? If they try and rotate around, they're going to get a lot of shells on their side of the tanks. They're going to be made, they're going to be found out, the information is going to be so far into Team Supreme's hands, it's not even funny. So, you know, once they made that commitment off the hill, you know, they've already lost the game. Team Supreme were on top of them.
Brilliant watching them play when they get like that. You actually smiled for once. just
I
when
like
you make.
Apoel.
Who doesn't? He's adorable. He's so cute. Melly keeps doing that in the background, and
Pow, pow, pow. Apoel.
Exactly.
Yes, pow, pow.
I just kind of. So I'll make a gif of that right now.
They should have sent Apoel, not Ron, to.
Oh, they sent Ron.
Yeah.
Come on.
He was cool, but I mean.
Like, yeah, I know
Apoel-
you're team captain, Ron, but we want Applewell. Come on, he's adorable. But still, Melly, of course, the people at home were, you know, I know there's a lot of fan favoritism out there towards Stronk, but did the people get it right at home?
Well, you have to give it to Supreme, right? That's what the audience also did with 63%, which is fairly low for the results we saw on the past match days. As Ollie mentioned, it was always around the 90% marker, and today was 63, still solid, but way lower than usual. And Dave also said that Supreme was due a slip. They haven't lost yet.
I think the probability of them losing a match this season is pretty high. I mean, they've still got to play the likes of Virtus Pro. But
it's going to be interesting.
I mean, we'll have to see. I mean, both Ding and Strong Siema have definitely challenged them, so it was going to be interesting later in the season.
Yeah, they did better than expected, actually.
Exactly.
So that's definitely something to build up on. And people, you voted, and you hopefully got it right. If not, you have another chance for the third match of the night. But before we head to that match, you should head over to facebook.com/WGLEU and follow us there, because you get notifications from all the Gold Series teams that do streams, giveaways, and all. So following our Facebook page makes you kind of follow all the other Facebook pages as well, with all the interesting giveaways, and also you won't miss any chance to get cool swag. I said it.
YOLO.
Free stuff.
Just going to get enough of that Gamescom. All the swag you're giving out.
Get a swag bag.
It's called goodie bag.
Yeah.
better
Goodie
be.
bag is cool.
I will
Goodie bag's
correct
fine.
every single one that comes up to me and
Start
ask
bitch
me
slapping
for.
people.
Yes,
You know what I mean?
yes.
Just
they
back
should
down.
they should allow it
Melly
for
being
Gamescom.
dragged out of the Mesa by security.
It wouldn't be
should
the first
try.
time, let's be honest.
It
It's
will be
Melly.
the first time. Yeah.
You should see what happens to the ESL parties with Melly. It's war game.
They don't let her in anymore.
No, there's actually a sign on the wall saying "Do not let in." You know, do you remember? You know,
She always tries to come in on a horse. It just doesn't work out.
rides
Well.
in like 2 vodka bottles in hand.
Exactly.
You know, a
No,
swag.
of
I mean,
course
a goodie bag as well on her back. It's
Yeah.
not good.
That's a
Goodie bag
brilliant
with like
picture.
horse treats and stuff.
One day, I will somehow get a horse to this studio.
Please don't. I'm
We
scared.
have
of
a
horses.
garden here.
Imagine
don't
that
we?
Helena
Like a
brings them
It's
a
courtyard.
little
not a garden. It's a
Courtyard.
small grassy area. That is not a garden.
That's enough.
It has a
place for
generator there. It doesn't count as a garden.
No, it doesn't.
Patio, I think, is what we could call it. It's very
Maybe
max.
at a push.
Yeah.
us. Well, it has grass. Well, people, twitter.com/WGLU is of course the other address you should definitely keep an eye on, and that's also where we keep you guys live update, even if you can't watch the stream. So people, check those platforms out, follow them, and we will hopefully see you back for the third match of the night, which is of course Rox versus Vuza.